evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Tonight we have a special guest on, Adam Holland. How you doing tonight, man?
What's going on? I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on this awesome show. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We got a lot to talk about. You yourself, can be a fellow podcaster. You are, and
Yes,
you are a musician, and you got some new
yes,
old music out as we were talking about.
yes, yes. New old. We're trying to
Well,
define what to call it. It's a new collection of old songs being released now. So I don't know what that term is. There's probably a term out there. So someone chime in and give us whatever that. If you know the term for that, please help us out.
here's the thing. Adam is from the band Valentine. If people that don't know, so we're going to be just the new people haven't checked them out. I want you to check them out if
Cool.
you're not familiar, and if you are an old fan, there's new old music out for us
Exactly.
new old people.
Exactly.
And for you young old people, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. We're going to get
That's
lost.
it's okay. It's a new
Okay,
old. It's a new old theme. That's the theme.
it
We're on
is.
new olds.
So let's if you can give a mini bio for the people that are new to you, just a quick little
Sure.
introduction of who you are and what Valentine was in the time period.
Absolutely. So I'm Adam Holland. I'm a guitar player. I'll go quickly. Playing since 11. Obviously, grew up on the, early, actually late 70s, the Bostons, the Fog Hat. Then, of course, into Van Halen, AC/DC, Black Sabbath. My love of that kind of hard rock. I wouldn't say so much metal, but hard rock guitar. Found some like-minded guys who, on the Long Island circuit. Valentine was formed after, our all seeking each other out. Valentine was part of the 80s sort of hair, hard rock movement. We were signed to Columbia, then ended up moving over to Giant Records. We had a video out called No Way, which had Ali Sheedy in it, and that was on Headbangers Ball. We were in all the, the rock trades and all the magazines. It was a good run. We had Neil Kernan, who produced our record. He produced a lot of those big Dokken records, Queensryche, and
Mhm.
our record sounds fantastic because of him.
Yep.
Times obviously changed, and we the band evolved. I don't know what you want to call it. Interesting evolution of the band, and we changed the name of the band. We had a new label, RCA, with a new producer, Rick Zito, and we all felt that it wasn't Valentine anymore, so the band became Open Skies, and that
Okay.
came out in the mid '90s, and that record did well, and we didn't do a video. It was kind of not a video time, and then
Yeah.
we did though had great radio and we did great touring. We actually did some tour with Mr. Big for a little while. You mentioned
Oh,
Eric
nice.
Martin. It was great, and then that sort of ran its course to the mid '90s, and then we sort of all just took a breath. The times had changed, and we just sort of paused for the end of the '90s. But then personally, I went on to become a writer, a staff writer down in Nashville, Tennessee, for a great publisher called Murrah Music, and that was a great period of my life. And then, of course, we were all still friends and buddies, and we started to just write together and do some things and play again just for fun. And I played with Hugo, who's the singer in that band, in a Journey tribute band. And then once we were all kind of back together doing things, Valentine got invited overseas to this great music festival called Firefest,
Oh yeah.
and the reception was just blew our mind. How we couldn't believe that we had this many fans overseas. It inspired us to do another CD. So in 2010, we did a CD called Soul Salvation, and went back to Firefest a few times, and just had it was just a sort of this joyous reunion. It was really I don't know what to say. It was a nice thing to feel to get appreciated later on, in which you didn't know how much people, we didn't know that we had this many fans over there and
The
around the
payoff for the
world.
investment of it's the payoff really.
Yeah, it was like a long-term payoff, but it was nice. So that was a good thing. And then, like I mentioned before, Hugo still plays in a very successful Journey tribute band called Voyage, and myself, Gerard, and Craig, the other guys in Valentine, play with Steve Argiri who sang with Journey for a decade. And that is
Jeez.
that. So then to bring us to current, that's what we do. We're all keeping busy. During COVID time, we were approached by 20th Century Music, Vanity Vanity Music Group, and they wanted to know if we had any unreleased Valentine material from the real '80s era. And it turns out we did, because we never did a second real Valentine record. We had written that record. However, we didn't release it, and at that time the label labels didn't want to really hear anything 80s esque sounding. So that music sat untouched until literally
Yeah.
to whatever 220, 2020, and we had it all. And actually, the cover of the CD is the trunk that Craig had with the CD with all the stuff. That's not a made up picture. That's a real picture of the cassettes and DATs that we had. And we did find some on DAT, but some was still on cassette. But we mastered it to get it to sound as good as we could. And we all felt that, we kind of wanted to leave it in that form because these are demos, and it was cool to have them like in that rough. They're not that rough. We
It
recorded
doesn't
them.
sound like demos to me, to be honest with you. Then I feel like I've been duped if they're demos.
No, well, here's the good thing. I'm
Adam!
going to go back a second. We had a label deal. We had some money, and we bought some real equipment and set up like a mobile studio that we moved around. And we also, at this point, when we made these recordings that are on Demos from the Attic, we had spent a lot of time watching Neil Kernan in the studio. So we got to sort of look over his shoulder. That's how you do that's how you layer the background vocals. Okay, we write that down. He showed me how to mic and record guitars, literally. So I learned from the master. And we used drums. We used actually an electronic drum kit, but it was played, so we didn't have to worry about miking. That's always a hard thing. So the drums, but we they came out great. We were very pleased with this. They were songwriter demos that would eventually go on to be produced. So what's cool about these demos, this is my wrap up here, which is cool. When we did the 2010 Soul Salvation record, it was a Valentine record, but it was a 2010 Valentine record. It wasn't the same 1988 Valentine because we weren't trying to do that. So for the real hardcore Valentine fans, this is really, this is the era captured in a time capsule because that's it. It's so it's kind of cool to look back on it and listen. Like when you look at old pictures of yourself, sometimes you like, holy shit, what was I wearing? You cringe, or sometimes you're like, wow, that was kind of cool. I think we felt like nostalgic about these old songs. It wasn't like we were like, yeah, we didn't have a bad feeling. It was like enough time had gone by that we knew the era they were written in and what they were for. They weren't trying to be like hit songs now. So it's cool they capture the moment of that real late 80s, early 90s, hair metal-y, crunching guitars, cool stuff. And because they're songwriter demos, we were a little freer. We were trying. We knew that these would be like, were in a mode of like, let's try this, let's try that. So there's kind of a spectrum of stuff. And there you go. How did I do?
That was really good. That was there you go. It did take a minute.
Yes,
a good breakdown. Very succinct.
Thank you.
I want to say a few things.
Sure.
So you guys like listening to you, and then I like to go back and kind of break it apart and listen to the new album. And I've gone, everything. And one of the things to me, it sounds like you big fan of Boston.
Yes. Oh
Okay.
yeah. No question about it.
I feel that not in the sound, but in the songwriting.
Oh, that's cool.
It feels like it honors it.
Well, that's a compliment. So there's no question. Yeah. We all, as I mentioned, grew up on that. Like Boston was one of the first. Believe it or not, they don't get enough credit. They're actually one of the first hard rock melodic bands. Boston, like heavy, massive crunching guitars, like really heavy guitars, like I
know the recording. The fact he did it in his basement.
It's
the
still
stories of what he's done is
right.
Unbelievable. There could be like 5 shows on him.
Right. There could be there should be a documentary on him.
That might be your next podcast.
There you go. Yes. Tom Schott. Let me get him. Hold on. I have to go. So no, but no, we definitely have a Boston influence. Boston, Foreigner, Journey, was definitely our roots. And then, like I said, the Van Halens, that's our sort of our roots. So yes, thank you for that. It's a compliment, and I take it.
Right. That's what I hear when I hear it. I was like, oh man, it's gotta be some Boston in that songwriting, just phrasing and the way the guitar is. There's something about it that just feels right. And to that point, that leads to the next point. You guys, I wouldn't call it. I mean, there are Van Halen riffy feels like a honor of it, but to me, it feels like you change a few of the pieces around. You guys are an AR band,
correct?
It's in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, you throw some costumes on and you look at the hair band, it's pretty easy.
Right.
But you could change a few things and you'd have been a 70s rock band. And then, You know what I'm saying? You weren't
Yeah, well,
totally built
no,
as being a metal band type
no,
thing.
no, we weren't really a metal band at all. We had keyboards, but we were definitely were heavy guitars. We were like, I don't know, I'm not sure what really, more Bon Jovi, Def Leppard,
Yeah,
and like you mentioned, more, but really more Foreigner, Boston,
that's
Journey.
what I hear. Yeah, I feel more
Yeah,
of a classic rocky
yeah,
AOR
that
because it
that,
carries
that
through. And
yeah, that's our that's what we grew up on. Those are our influences, and those influences come through. And of course, Hugo has that real AOR voice that just
yeah,
and the harmonies. So
and I know that I've seen his stuff pop up before that he does the Journey thing, and it's funny you guys actually do Journey too. I don't hear really the Journey bleeding through on this at all. Every now and then I can hear a little thing that reminds me, where I can see, oh yeah, I can see why he does Journey in his
right.
voice. Like, very little though. It's not
No, it's not on the Valentine stuff, and even
not at
Open
all.
Skies. It's not. No,
No,
if you hear Hugo, it's not. Oh my God, it's like Steve Perry. But
no.
when you see him and then hear him, it's like, oh my God. Then you can't get rid of that Perry
So
thing. You know what
it's
I'm saying?
down to the microphone hand manners and the microphone even like it's so
Yeah,
so
exactly.
crazy. What I'm gonna say, but on the demo, what I'm trying to clear up is it's not a Journey sound on
Oh
your
no,
demo
thank
either.
you.
So
No, and also let me
no,
say this: Hugo is a phenomenal singer. There's nothing
Mhm.
negative about what I don't mean to be. I don't want to come
No,
off negative. It's a hell of a thing. So, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So that's. But I appreciate that, and I agree. It doesn't come out in these demos that the Journey thing.
no, it's really good. I think he has two voices. He has a Journey, but he also sings in a different voice for you guys too.
Yes,
Of course, there's an overlap. So,
yes.
but that being said, now what about now? You guys get together, you guys splinter off, you do some stuff on the side every now and then. You
Hmm.
guys are you've been doing some stuff. You get together every now and then. Has songwriting changed for you? Do you feel like there's been an evolution over time? I mean,
Yes,
with newer music, like
yes. Well,
you're
for me, like most things, as you mature, you realize, wow, I you get a little better at you hone your skill. And me, listen, we did when we started out, we were kids, and just like that energy, we captured it. Then you mature and you see how other people do it, and you work with other people, and you go, oh, that's interesting. Let me try that. And then you hear other things, and you grow up a
mm,
little bit. And then for me, when I went down to Nashville, I mean, boy, that changed so much for me in the most incredible way. Working with these like whole, I mean, I thought I knew talented people, but holy shit, down there it was just so incredible, and it was an incredible time for me and an incredible experience, and everything like that made me a better writer because it would sort of not question my work, but I would just say, "Wow, what would this guy do? What else could I do?" Or I also learned to sometimes just put something down very quickly and then give it to someone else, not spend so much time, give the raw pieces to like another writer, like in collaboration. I did a lot
okay.
of that because when I used to go down to Nashville, I would go down with like, I didn't live there, so I went back and forth. So when I went there, I wanted to come with like a lot of ideas to start, what do you got?
Yeah.
Like, so I would start to write like that, little riffs or choruses or lyrical ideas and bring down unfinished ideas to give to someone else to collaborate. So, but I think with technology, I think it's helped my writing. Like myself and Craig, we write a lot together. Craig's the keyboard
Hmm.
player,
Yeah.
and we will pass around a song. He'll send me a song, and I'll just either it happens quick. Either I love it and I take it, I suck it into his file into my, my Logic session, and I'll chop it
Yeah.
up and spit it right back at him. So it's been that. And then like we don't even actually talk about it, which is cool. I don't ask him what his opinion is. I do my thing and see if and I just quickly do my what would I hear. I do what I think I want to hear, and either he loves it or not. But so far, that's been a very cool thing.
That's
And that
interesting. That's really interesting. So because you're
so
not there to actually be
no,
not imposed, but you don't feel the energy of that
right.
person there or holding back. Do you think it makes you a little more courageous in putting out what you
Yes,
want without thinking about it?
absolutely. And then, by the way, he can still say, "I don't hear it." Then he'll go. Then he'll like. We always like say your move like chest, and he'll
Right.
tweak.
Well, I don't
He'll
mean,
cut.
what I'm saying, I don't mean like being,
No,
but like I'm saying like courageous. I'm
yes,
saying, you know what? You're not second guessing yourself.
correct. You just do it, and you hope that you do what you think it sounds like, and then give it and hand it off. And by
Mhm.
the way, we wrote most of the songs we wrote for the Steve Augeri record. We did that way, and that includes Steve. We would pass around these ideas, and then sometimes Craig and I would get something finished, and pass it to Steve, and either same thing, he'd either like take it and then he'd do that, he'd do his version to it. So it was actually, we did that all through the pandemic. It was definitely like a little, it was cool. So so all those things have helped me, I think, become better. And I think also lyrically, you just become a little, I don't know, maybe you slow down. Like I said, maybe you're just a little wiser as you grow older. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting.
I hope you are.
Listen, you don't care anymore as you get older. If you're wiser,
yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
That's what makes you wiser. You don't care anymore. That's the wisest thing you could do in your life, is not care.
There you go.
My motto is that you think, you stink. You know what I mean? Just kind of got to move forward, and that's really it. What's interesting, so the world, a lot of people, some people, and it's two sides really. They either like to do the recording and send the files back and forth, or they're like, I want nothing to do with it.
Right.
Just a room. I almost think it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You can kind of do two. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise it becomes too much if you can't get together.
No,
there's a lot of times it's great when you can just write a song and when it's done. At band practice, you got nobody else putting a beer in your thing, knocking you over. You're like, oh, time to go. Band practice is over. Beep. You can end it and go upstairs and watch TV, or go, you know what I'm saying? You can separate.
No, there's pros and cons to both. There's still nothing like getting together with a human being in a room and creating music. We have got to get. So I should add, the last piece of that is, once we have these things, we have then gotten together and sort of hashed out the final thing. So that is, you still need the human. At some point, you need some interaction or sitting together for, so that's true.
So what is the plan? So the album's released.
Correct.
Are you going to do, is it any lyric videos once COVID is kind of loosening up a little bit? You guys going to try doing a little bit of touring, a couple special shows to promote it, a live stream, something?
We were just talking today about maybe, I don't even want to get into the details, but some of the, the festivals that have bands like us on them, there were some things being talked about today. So we'll probably do something.
Okay.
But the goal is to really do as many podcasts and interviews and get out there as much and talk about as much, And I think there were two videos. There's a video for Heart of the City and there's a video for Sandy out there, like lyric videos out there floating around on YouTube.
I'm bad about catching on. I'm bad about actually watching videos. Ironically, I don't usually watch a lot of music videos. I usually just listen to music.
Exactly. So, and then what we're doing, I'm always on, social media promoting and et cetera. So that's what we're doing to get out there,
Okay. So people can hear if you have any live shows, they can see it on your social media.
100%. I promise if there's a live show, I know you'll know about it. Our fans will know as soon as we have something to say, they'll know about it.
That's excellent. So what is this journey connection? So how did you guys end up doing two separate journeys, but not actually doing it together?
Well, this is
a question I just came up with when I heard you. I'm like, what?
It goes even deeper. There's another whole, there's more people involved. That's a great question. And by the way, let's go back. The answer, I'll do my best. The answer is, I don't know. Hugo, first of all, no, when Hugo, listen, I don't want to sound this in a negative. Hugo, his career would get compared to Steve Perry. When it all sort of ended, and it was, again, 2000, he was like, and there was a new thing called a tribute band. That was a new thing in the early 2000s. He was like, you know what? I want to play. This is what I look like and sound like. Fuck it. I'm gonna do it. And he did it. And then he invited me to do it with him. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, I don't know. I was just like, what? I don't even know what this is. And we started to do it. And you know what? We had a very successful run. It was called Evolution. And then Evolution did a lot of work with the Broadway musical Rock of Ages.
Oh.
So, and then we also knew Steve Augeri, because Steve Augeri's band, Tall Stories, also toured with Mr. Big when Open Skies. We would actually flip-flop off this tour with Mr. Big, Open Skies, and Tall Stories. And we also knew of each other from the CBS days when Tall Stories was on Epic. So we'd known Steve already. I'm going to give you this. So therefore, we got to know Steve, and then Steve, so these Evolution shows for Rock of Ages, we did the opening night party, which was we met, all these people. And then we do once a month, we'd play next door to the theater where Rock of Ages played, the musical. And if you had a ticket, you could get into this club, and the cast, somehow the cast was required to come to this cast party. So the cast would be there. It was a very small event, like a club. It wasn't even like a concert. And we would play, and someone would, get up from either the cast or some like Twisted Sister or some 80s person would come up. And one night Steve Augeri jammed with us because we also met him at Firefest when Valentine played. He played with Tolstoy. So there was this sort of like constant running into each other. And then he wanted to put together a band, but he didn't want a tribute band. And so it was actually Gerard who kind of concocted the idea of maybe the Valentine guys, because Hugo's doing this tribute band. I went and played with Steve Augeri and another dear friend of mine who now plays guitar with Hugo in Voyage, Rob Hoffman. So we ended up being the Steve Augeri band, and they continued on they changed the name to Voyage. And then, so we all ended up associated with Journey. And I don't know how, it wasn't even like a planned out thing. So I hope that answered the question.
That's really good. It's really good. It's pretty funny though. I mean,
the reason I brought up Rob Hoffman because he was on my podcast. He was in a band called In the Pink. He manages Extreme and Rat and all these guys. So but we were joking that he's like, here we are with all this Journey connection. Like, he's a guitar player. So we sometimes, what are you doing there? So, and we're all friends, by the way, we're all buddies since we're like high school, so it's a whole weird like mesh of family and Journey. It's a funny thing. So I don't know how it happened, but it did happen.
That's great. It's really good. It's a fun story. It is. And I like the fact everyone's still friends. And it's other. I want to step back and say for Hugo, there's nothing wrong with being compared to a certain singer.
It's not. It's a compliment of all compliments.
Oh my God! Like of a singer to be compared to. Really?
It's like someone saying, "Hey, listen, you sound a lot like Eddie Van Halen." Oh, it's like, oh, no shit. What do you say? Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yeah, really. If I was it's the best compliment ever.
Right. And let me add one thing here that the Journey thing is how lucky are all of us that we get to play this incredible catalog of songs. And we always want to make sure that we like pay respect to that and Journey, like, holy shit, thank you for this catalog of songs that we get to play. So I want to say that. So.
Has anybody from the band ever checked you guys out? Any overlap at all?
Well,
anybody ever show up or?
They haven't shown up, but Steve is Augeri is still friendly with those guys, so they know Steve is out there playing. Yeah, of course.
Very cool, very cool. So a couple of things before we get into your podcast. What is your main guitar? I like to talk about guitars once in a while. What is your main guitar right now? Has it changed over the years or what?
Good question. One is hold on. It's funny. Yeah. I have one sitting here. So
good. Well, you'll be better. You're a musician.
So right now I'm using a company called Landon. So funny you ask. So basically, it has changed through the years, but really it's a combination. These guitars are a combination of Les Pauls and Stratocasters. It's a Stratocaster shape, but you see it has a Gibson style bridge. It has a fixed tunematic. And it's on the scalable Les Paul, and the neck is a Les Paul, very fat neck. So I played in the 80s. I played Strat style guitars. In the 90s, I played Les Pauls. But I said, you know what? I want the feel of a Strat with a Les Paul. And I had one of these. I made one myself just to see what it was like. And I loved it. And then this company that makes all the pieces.
It's beautiful looking.
Yeah, this is, I have a
Looks
lot
heavy.
of these. It's not actually, it's not super light. It's actually about just the right weight. It's about like 8 pounds. I like 7.5, 8 pounds. So it's a big, the answer to your question, it's evolved into this combination of my favorite things of Les Pauls and my favorite things of Strat. And so, this one happened to has a humbucker and 2 single coils. And, but my other ones have various configurations. Usually it's just a good old fashioned Les Paul style toggle. So it's like a Les Paul everything disguised in the body of a Strat. And I like the reverse.
It's a sleeper.
Yeah, and the reverse headstock is just, I think it looks cool. That's just something I like. So
like a hockey stick.
Something like that. I'm not really sure. It's like it goes back to like a Joe Perry, Jimi Hendrix thing. So there you go. That's my guitar. So they have evolved.
So can people get those? If they're interested, people actually get those?
Yeah, there's a company called Landon, and they're very boutique. I mean, they're not really publicly out there, but they are out there. So I guess I'll send you the link. Everything after this, we'll put up
there. People can reach out to you. You can be the connection for that. They're one-offs. It's just if there is 1 or 2 people, usually always have a question about it.
No, I do. It's funny. I just did a video on YouTube. It's funny because I'm very fortunate to be involved with this company and Fractal and Bare Knuckle. That I got some requests. I got all kinds of questions about my gear, I just made a video about everything I use, the guitars, my pickups. So I'll give you all these links you can put.
Yeah, because that would be really good.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
And I think I'm going to make eventually. This is an Adam Holland model. All my specs, they're not produced yet. I mean, they're all different kinds are produced with Landon, but I think we might do a couple of, for sale Adam Holland models. I'll see about that. We're thinking of doing
that'd be pretty awesome. That'd be very cool. So getting your own guitar is almost as cool as getting your own action figure or something, right? It's like
listen, it's unbelievable. Yes, so yes, I agree. So this is just a dream come true. This is everything I ever wanted in a guitar. I have in these guitars. So I can't say enough good things about them. They're really special.
What are the guitar question? What gauge do you use?
That's a great question. It's so funny. Well, it depends. If I tune down, I like almost like I use a 10. What is it? 10's on the top, then 11, like 48, 38, 28 on the top. But if I tune to standard tuning, I use on the top, I go a little bit lighter. I haven't only, I want me to show you those sets too. I could hold on. It's so funny. You're asking these questions. Someone asked me this earlier. It's so funny.
It's just funny.
So, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, technical problems. So, I also use I'm an Ernie Ball artist. So, if I'm using, these are a 9.5, so 9.5, 12, 16, 26, 36, 46. But the 9.5 is too light. I use a 10 on the top. That's my standard set. So it's kind of like the top of a 10 with the bottom of a 9. And then if I tune down, which sometimes we do, I use 48, 38, 28 with a 10, 13, 17. So like it's a 10 and 11 or a 9 and a 10 set. I like a little heavier on the bottom end. I don't like a light. I like a little more meat on the lower, the EA.
I've actually played around with doing super light, then you do super heavy, then the split we do like really light and really heavy, you flip flop them. I don't know. I think I usually stay mid to lights. I think it's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think there's no reason to like go too heavy. It's it's funny. It's what you get used to. For a while, don't ask me why. I was using 11s tuned down on a Les Paul, and I thought that I was reading. I thought it was, and I got used to it for a while. But then I'm like, let me try something a little lighter. So I went back to 10s, and I just think that's so tuned down 10s. Standard. It's like 9.
I have an Aria Pro, not down here. Aria Pro 2 is not like a Wildcat, it's like 82 or something. It's got a heavier neck.
Right.
So that's why I'm doing a lot of experimenting with different thicknesses. I think I actually was doing the Gilmore strings very, very light. I was trying to try those because it's such a fat neck.
Right.
And I'm really not sure. That's interesting, you're using.
Well, I think also, so because this is tuned, this is a Strat, it's a Les Paul scale. So Les Paul, it's a little shorter, the scale. So it gives you the opportunity to get that soft feel with a little heavier string.
Okay.
But on a standard Strat, a good old fashioned Strat, I would be using 9s. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on that. So with the Les Paul, you can get a little heavier on the string. Yeah. So I try and go as heavy as I can but I still like to have that liquidy, nice bendy, buttery feel on the bends.
Buttery feel, like that one. It's a good, I haven't heard that yet. So you're into a lot of things. I know you do some audio editing, and you work in the band. You got a couple of bands going on. Get your guitar line. There's also something else you got going on.
Yes.
You got a podcast.
I started a podcast over the pandemic. Yes. It's called Band Forever. And that was something we were talking earlier about. I do a lot of audio.
We weren't talking about earlier. Don't get the fourth wall.
I mean, I was talking to someone else earlier.
You were thinking about it. Yeah. I'm just harassing you.
So, yeah, like you, I love to talk about music, rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And there are so many people I run into as we travel around. I run into so many guys. I know so many people like myself who I've grown up with who are in this business, but they may not be like mainstream famous, but they're still making a living in the industry, have had deals, have toured, have done cool things. And I just wanted to tell some stories about that. I like to hear the podcasts that I like to listen to are usually when I learn something I didn't know about maybe someone I think I know, that I hear this backstory. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. Or I never heard of this guy or this thing. And then you walk away going, wow, that's, I now know more about that. So I wanted to tell stories about people who are out there, but who aren't maybe getting their stories told. So I thought I would give it a shot. And since we're talking about Valentine, I did the first episode on ourselves. I had myself, Gerard, and Craig on as a round table and talked about our journey,
your origin story.
Yeah, our story through the industry till now. We've been playing together for over 30 plus years, the three of us. So it's been a long, and the episode title is Long and Winding Road, because it has been a long and winding road. So, and I also love to edit audio, and I wanted to just, so all these things I enjoy doing and listening to, I wanted to try to put them into a podcast. And so far it's gone well. And, I think,
how many you have? You have a couple, right? Like
10, I have 10 so far. And I just did an episode with a great producer, Bob St. John, who did all those Extreme records, and he did Duran Duran, and multi-platinum mega producer. I've had my friend Robbie Hoffman, who manages, he manages Nuno, Extreme, and Rat, and Courtney Love, and is a wonderful player and artist himself. I had Reggie from Heaven's Edge. I had Keith from Tora Tora, so.
Keith's great.
Oh, he is great. And what a great band. So that was cool. He did. So just guys like that who I've known through the years. I of course, my first round of guests are people who I know. Joey Quesada from, Z-Rock, ZO2, and just all kinds of.
He's hilarious. He is, besides being talented, he is hilarious.
Listen,
his show's funny.
Unbelievable. By the way, he's the one, he played in the Steve Augeri band for a little while.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I got to know him, and he wrote this great book. He really, and I'm like, wow, his life is just, holy shit, what an incredible story. I mean, TV shows, Broadway, mega tours. I mean, so many, the wrestling show, and he's nonstop, and he just does it. He doesn't like sit around and wait. He does it and then puts it out and gets someone that gets produced. So he was like, you guys have a hell of a story yourselves. You should get it out there. So it was just that. So he was one of the main inspirations for doing it, and he's a super talented musician. I mean, there's so many levels. That guy is great. So
he is, and he's playing right now. Actually, he's playing with Eric Martin, and the crazy trickster knuckleheads, whoever they call each other at the time.
No, it's a great that talk about a great band. Holy shit, that's a great catalog of songs to pull from. They're great. Holy shit, are they all great musicians? So that's yes. So
Martin was talking about that he's coming with these crazy names. It's go back to my episode. They're talking about the crazy names because he kept trying to rename the band because all of them together.
Right.
About Circus Lemonade, you'll have to go back and hear it. I want to. When people already heard the story, I don't want to ruin it, but you have to check it out.
I will. I look forward to it. No, so
yeah.
And then I said we toured with Mr. Big and Eric back in the day. So it's another. There's 6 degrees of separation to all of us somehow. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, that's excellent. So first off, people listening, you gotta watch his show now too, because there's room for everybody out there.
Oh my God! You have to watch. First of all, you have to watch. Go find the Z-Rock. It's 2 seasons of Z-Rock, which it is like the rock and roll Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's like that's how I can describe it.
I feel like there should be a pack of them made up for people when you first start music. You should get like your Z-Rock DVD pack or something.
I think so. It's just it's so great, and it's just. All I can say is first, when you meet somebody and you go, okay, I'm going to watch their thing because sometimes you're being polite, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. You read their book, you do something. His book, he was on my show. His episode, I'm like, give me the book, I'll read it. He's like, sure you will. He gave me the book, and we were on. And I couldn't put it down. I read the whole book in like a weekend, and the whole time I was like, dude, what happened? I was like ripping through the chapters, like, what happened here? What happened here? He's like, are you serious? Then, actually Steve Augeri and Craig always told me, you got to watch this show. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So of course because he was playing with us, I went and watched it. And I plowed through 2 seasons. I'm like, holy shit, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
It's like the gateway drug to him is that show.
Right. So then I listened to the music. I'm like, wow, ZO2 is really good. So either way, I'm a big fan of his, obviously you can tell that. So and he's a very good guy and a good friend and a big inspiration to me. So So I don't even know my point of this question. Oh, the
Well, you're just
trickster
talking the
guys. Yes.
podcaster and playing. Yeah, I was just saying it's really great how they're all together. And it's
Yes.
well, there's a couple points. First off, the podcasting world, it's good to support each other, and there's a lot of really great content.
Yes.
And I think
We appreciate
having
that.
conversations and having, like I always like to say, my show's more about musical conversations. We'll promote your stuff and talk about whatever. I don't have an agenda. I don't have any notes in front of me. I'm not. So in
Right.
1988, I heard a story. The story
Right.
comes up. It's organic. That's cool.
Right.
It's great. I like stories. But sometimes new stories come up, or we talk
Right.
about something different that's current
No,
going on right now. That's the real world,
I agree.
and people like that. So that's kind of where I guess we're meandering. But my point is, so like with Joey and Eric and everybody, and there's still a friendship and a continuity with these bands now
Right.
over all these years.
Correct.
And
Good point.
and it's not in every genre of music.
That's a good point. And I think that's a good point. And Joey and I have talked about this, and I think we came up to this conclusion that the guys who are still serious and are still doing it, right, are like almost like the good guys are left. I don't know how to explain it. The drama is gone. If you're still if you're still doing it now at our age, like the drama is out, right? So
yeah, I think it was pure in your heart, and it wasn't about the glamour or the money.
correct. You're still right. So the guys still
record
doing
labels.
it.
I mean the record labels. I mean the banks.
Yeah.
You're so much, right? And it's just the artist.
Right. So the guys left doing it. We all, I mean, I know Steve, and he's going to be a guest on the show actually, and I know
Steve Brown.
Yeah, so I know all these. I know, so we all know each other since we're like 20, right? So we've all been connected in some way. Either we've toured together, we have some friend of a mutual friend, or somehow we've all known each other through the years. So therefore, there's a brethren, whatever that word of,
brother.
a community of us, and so the guys still left. We respect one another. We're all happy to be doing it, and there's no drama, and it's. I think the good guys are left. So that's how I would feel about it, and that's how what Joey and I were talking about. It's a nice camaraderie of guys.
It is, and it's one of the things I'm going to tell you. People are like, how could you talk to so and so in the show or whatever? They're rock stars. I'm like, they're musicians,
right?
These people are approachable and actually probably kinder than more people I know in the other outside of Zoom in the other world. You know what I mean? I've done some things behind the scenes of music too. And I'm going to tell you, when I talk to these people, they're more laid back than people I know in my real life. You know what I mean?
No, I understand.
No,
it's
because
nice.
They're happy. They're doing what they want, and they're just appreciative that they can do what they want for a living.
And well said. And I think that, which for me, when we play some of these festivals where I meet somebody who I don't know before, like I met, I don't know, we played somewhere. What did we play at the Frontiers Festival? I met Dougaldridge for the first time. I'm a huge fan of his, and he was he's cool, and he's a great, nice guy. And now, like on social media, hey, what's up? So it was like that. He was a good dude, like what I'm saying, just a regular guy. Also, such a real, genuine musician. I mean, the guy lives, eats, and breathes guitar. You see it, you know it. Yep. He is what he appears to be is what he's like. It was cool. So I guess it's true. The guys who still linger around, they're just sort of the nice guys. I don't know what to say. I've met only nice guys.
And I'm sure you'll have them on your podcast, and the journey will be fun. Always, and I don't mean make these journey puns. I don't get shot with lightning or something. You know what I mean?
No, go with it. Just go. It's true that it is. By the way, forget the band. It is. All of us have been on a journey. So it's the word. It's the word of the podcast. It's our
journey's lawyers can be calling for copyright stuff on infringement on us. You can't use that word.
Too funny. Yeah.
No, that's great. This has been a treat.
Same here, man.
As things progress, we'll have you, and I'll promote you and have your stuff on. I want people to go check out your podcast, and all the links are going to be here.
Yes.
Check out the new old CD from Valentine.
New old CD. It's called Demos from the Attic. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's
totally misleading
cool.
because it's really not demos from the attic. It really feels like not really demos.
Right. They're very well recorded.
Really well produced.
They're very well produced demo. That is true. They're well produced demo. In parentheses, well produced demos from the attic. Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you one thing, as I know with that production, it was good. And the drums are good. I'm going to tell you, I'm very critical on drums. I like well-produced drums. If the drums suck, it's going to really ruin an album.
Correct.
Correct.
Well, like I said, what we did for those drums is we used like electronic sounds but played manually. So because we knew mic, if that's the one thing that could make it sound crappy, is if we didn't mic the drums right and get the proper drums, it wouldn't sound right. So we just did it. We went like Def Leppard vibe because
it works. It works.
It does.
I mean, but like the wrong drum just ruin everything. It doesn't matter how good the rest of the band is.
I agree.
It's a backbeat in the pocket thing, and and I'm not even a drummer. It just needs to be there.
No, and I think
these drummers are gonna get the big heads now. I think they're important, and
they're super important. No, and I think the sound of it sounds silly too. The sound and placement of the snare drum could make or break the recording. I feel they're very strong about the placement of the volume and the sound of the snare drum. That's my little thing.
Any of the cymbals actually the wrong thing would be just make me crazy. I think it'd be a frequency thing for me. I think.
Yes, I agree. You are correct.
That's probably a deep dive for both of us.
It's a good deep dive.
Now you're 10 in and you love editing.
Yes.
Talk to me when you have 130 episodes like me, and then tell me how much you still love editing.
By the way, you're exactly right. Well, you know what? It takes me a long time to do it, and you're right. It takes me. I can't get them out quick. It takes me I can't do one. I do one a month because I have to record it, listen through it, cut out the nonsense, I piece it together. I put music in. It's definitely a little more of a. It's a lot more work than I give myself a lot more work. Put it that way.
I do some editing. I do, but in effects, but I don't do music because it's also on YouTube, so I'm not going to deal with copyright.
Right.
I already dealt with that with some new bands, so that's the only challenge is watch out for copyright.
No, I actually use music that I have permission to use or my own music, so I am fully aware of that. I don't just use random stuff.
Well, I've gotten music. All the artists have given me permission, but there's still a third level.
Right, it's a label. Permission. No, I use stuff that's not mastered. I don't use label masters.
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I use things that some quirky recording or something that I try. I don't use the master version of a label that I have to. Maybe a live version or something where I have permission to use that version of it.
Wait till you try using your own stuff and they tell you can't use it because the record label owns it. It's so crushing.
Well, no, I use a lot of I use my own recordings. I write stuff. I demos just for this. Just
you
know
what I'm saying? No, like you're like this is I'm gonna do a Valentine song. It's owned by RCA. You're like what?
Yes,
I got stories I could tell you for days about artists I've talked to about that. No, like they can't even use some of their bigger known hits from then because the record label.
Which is funny. JJ French has a great podcast too, and promoting it out. I love it. And the first thing he does is thank Universal Music for for letting him use his own song. That's how he starts every single podcast.
That is hilarious. That is really good. This has been a wonderful thing. I want to thank you for being on the show, man.
Oh my God, my pleasure. I could talk to you all night about this stuff. So thank you so much.